He who has a why to live for can bear almost any how. These are the words of the late 19th century philosopher and writer Friedrich Nietzsche. My name is Edward Durante, and this is Life Perfect Square. We all search for that why in our lives. Remember when we were children and we would ask our fathers and mothers questions, and after every question that we asked them and we got an answer, we typically said, why? Why is that so? Why? I know I drove my mother and father crazy with a numerous number of whys, and it still persists into adulthood. Even in our adulthood, we're always asking why. Why did that happen to me? Why do good things always happen to other people? Why do bad things happen to good people? Why did this happen? Why didn't that happen? There are a lot of whys in our lives, a lot of questions, and fewer answers. I remember when I read my first full-length book. It was a little over 300 pages, and the title was Rufus M. I think I was 9 years old at the time. It was quite an accomplishment. I don't remember the second book I read, but since then I've read literally thousands of books. I'm not saying that to impress you. I'm just telling you that whenever I need answers, I search for it in books. And I found many answers to different questions along the way. Of course, I've taken my own sort of philosophy, religion, spirituality from all the various texts that I've learned over the years, from various mentors, from other people in my peer group, from others that I've learned from. And I've been fortunate enough to have many teachers and mentors in my life. What I've come up with is my own amalgamation, my own kind of compilation of ideas and concepts that ring true with me. You've probably done the same thing. Maybe you were raised in a Catholic home, maybe a Christian home, maybe a Muslim home, maybe a Jewish home. And you've got a lot of those things that you think you believe from your parents and your peer group and those people around you. But along the way, if you're a thinking, sentient being, as most of us are, you also develop some of your own ideas and concepts based on information that you gleaned from other areas. And the thing of it is, in trying to find what makes sense for you, this is a journey and it's a search. And it's kind of like a mystery. You're following this trail, and sometimes you go down a rabbit hole and you think you found some new information, and then you test it out for a while and it doesn't ring true. However, if you do find things that ring true, you stick with them and you hold them close to your heart. And this is true. So in finding your life's perfect expression, which is what each of us has come here to do, along with having various life experiences. I believe we're here to have every experience we can possibly have. I remember when I was very young, my mother said to me one time, and she didn't really say it as a compliment, she said, "Son, I think you're going to experience everything in life." Well, I didn't realize how prescient she was at that time, but I can bear witness to the fact today, many decades later, that I have experienced the highs and lows of life. I've gone far and wide and traveled in different circles and cultures and countries, and I've had experiences. I've been poor, I've been rich, I've been everywhere in between. And they've all been beneficial in one way or another. Some didn't seem so at the time, some were painful, but they led me to where I am today. I'm not an expert in this field. I can't give you advice that I guarantee will work for you. I'm more like a Sadhguru. If you're familiar with Sadhguru, who's also an author, one that I've gleaned some information from along the way, I'm self-taught. You know, there's a Native American saying that says, in order to gain experience, you have to have the experience. I've had many experiences. At some of the times, I thought, these are the best things that ever happened to me in my life. And they turned out, some of them, to be cherished moments in my life. Others turned out not so well. And then there were times when I was going through different things and I thought, this is the worst possible thing. When am I ever going to get out of this? And they dragged on and seemed like daily pain and suffering. And yet when I got through those experiences, I realized looking back that they were tremendous learning times in my life. I'll talk more about those in future podcasts, but for today, I want to talk about how you find your life's perfect experience and how you get your perfect expression. And it doesn't matter. We're not all artists and singers and composers and politicians and lawyers and doctors. There's room in the world for every other kind of pursuit. The point is, you have to find what your expression is. Maybe you're an ideal carpenter. We've had some famous carpenters in history, Jesus being one of them. Maybe you're a carpenter. Maybe you're a plumber. Maybe you're a truck driver. Maybe you're a painter. Maybe you're an author. Maybe you're a singer. Whatever that is, you need to find it. And you know what it is. Deep down inside, you had those dreams when you were very young, and possibly you've pursued them. More of us have put them away for more practical pursuits as we became fathers and mothers and husbands and wives. And we had to, provide for our families. We took jobs. We went into professions. We had to earn a living. And unfortunately, a lot of those dreams that we had early on, which may have been our perfect expression, were tucked away and put away in a place that's deep down inside. Didn't go away. It's like an ember still glowing there lightly. It's like when you build a fire outside to barbecue, and when the fire is long since out and you go back and you look at the coals are still burning with some ember there. And if you stir them up a little bit, you can start the fire again. This is similar to the ideas and concepts and dreams that you had early on. And the thing of it is, in that life perfect expression, it's not just what you do, but it's how you do it. You have to do it with a passion, with intent. And when you're doing something with intent and with passion, you feel it. You know it's right. No one has to tell you about it. You lose track of time. You realize that you're doing something that you really care about. It never feels like work. It always feels like joy. Like you're doing this because you want to do it. It's like playtime. That's what you need to pursue. But you also need to pursue it with a clear thought pattern, with a clear conscience. You can't be holding grudges against people. You can't have terrible thoughts in your mind. You need to clean your thoughts, as we've talked about in past podcasts. You need to have pure thoughts. You need to send out good vibrations. This isn't a Beach Boys song from the 60s, Good Vibrations, but they really had something there. When you think about good vibrations, it's about energy. It's about the way you relate to other people, how they relate to you. You can change the dynamic between yourself and another person with your own mental attitude. You don't think so? Just try it sometime. Try thinking good thoughts about someone that you've had difficulties with in the past. Keep pursuing those good thoughts. Send out those good vibrations, and you'll see very quickly that the relationship you had with that person will change. It'll go from near toxic to very pleasant. And then you'll be surprised at how it progresses from there. So before you can pursue your perfect expression, your dreams, if you wish, you need to first pull them out and dust them off and take a look at them from a different perspective. Now you're an adult. You haven't looked at these dreams for quite a while, and they still seem alive in your mind, and you get energized when you think about them, but it's difficult. You have all these responsibilities. You have all these commitments. You've been in this job for a while. You've progressed through the job. Maybe you've gotten raises and you've been promoted, and you're in this chain of promotion. sounds reasonable to you. Maybe you're looking for that next raise, that next promotion. You're going to buy a bigger house. You're going to take a vacation. You're going to put money away for the children's education. All those things are important. There's no doubt about it. But nothing more important than you doing what you came here to do, what you have passion for, what you have the ability for. You're not too old. You're not too young. You're not too tall, you're not too short. You're not too black, you're not too white, you're not too yellow, you're not too red. None of those things matter. You are exactly what you're supposed to be. And you have the ability to do things in a way that no one else can do them. It's like me talking to you right now. I don't have any new earth-shaking information that you couldn't find online or in books, or that other authors or promoters or inspirational speakers haven't talked about. But I have my own way of presenting it. I have my own way of looking at it, of giving it to you so that maybe it resonates with you. Perhaps I've read the same books that you've read, attended the same seminars that you have, but perhaps when I talk about them and I present them with my own twist on them, with my own base of experience, with my own life turmoils, with the tragedies and triumphs that I've had, perhaps when I present it in my own particular way, it will have new meaning for you. So I'm not intimidated by the fact that there are other writers, speakers, inspirational people who have come before me and who will come after me and who will travel similar roads that I'm traveling in my speeches with you. I'm not intimidated by that at all, because I know that only I can tell you these stories in the way that I can tell them to you. And I hope that they resonate with some of you. I hope they move you to do things that you thought about doing. Here's another thing from Og Mandino, who wrote The Greatest Salesman in the World, Part 1 and 2, and other books. In these two books, The Greatest Salesman in the World and The Greatest Salesman in the World, Part 2, they're really not about selling, although that's the title. They're about life lessons. And in two of these, in the first one, he talks about 10 different principles that he learned to live by. And in the second one, he has 10 scrolls that he writes down for people to live by, that he's learned, that he's come to learn at the end of his life. And one of them is never put anything off. If you're going to do it now. Do it with passion. Do it with intent. Do it with consciousness. You know, how do you stay conscious throughout the day? How many minutes per day are you actually conscious of what you're doing, committed to it, understanding it, involved in it, not thinking about what happened yesterday or last week or last year, not contemplating what's going to happen tomorrow or next week or a year from now, but right now, committed to what you're doing, conscious of what you're doing, feeling it, working through it. How many minutes per day do you have like that? You know, I'm a big reader of Neville Goddard. If you're not familiar with him, I suggest that you get familiar with him. Two of the books I would recommend of his are At Your Command and The Power of Awareness, both very short. At Your Command, 75 pages. Power of Awareness, maybe 90 pages. They're very short, very powerful. He has longer tomes, but these are short ones and very powerful. Anyway, in The Power of Awareness, he talks about a way that you can raise your awareness and your consciousness. And this is a process that I've done and you can do for yourself. I've mentioned it in one of the other podcasts, but I'm going to repeat it here. So each night when you get in bed, and you lie down, before you go to sleep, maybe you have a routine, maybe you say prayers, maybe you are thankful and grateful for the things that happened that day. Those are very good. So try this one out. Try and think back from the time you just got in bed, reverse order, walk through all the steps. Okay, took my slippers off, got in bed, got under the covers, put my head on the pillow, Before that, I was in the bathroom, brushing my teeth, whatever you did. And retrace each and every action all the way through until the time that you woke up that morning and put your feet on the ground. See how far you can get in that consciousness and awareness. What's going to happen, if you're like most people, at first, you're going to lose your train of thought. You're going to have difficulty remembering what you did. But if you practice this over and over and over again, within 30 days, you're going to be surprised at the amount of consciousness that you have and the way that you can reconstruct what happened during the day. What does this do? This forces you throughout the day to pay attention to what you're doing. When you're walking outside, you're aware that you're walking outside. You can smell the flowers. You can smell the sweetness in the air. You can hear the birds singing. You can hear people's voices in the distance, the sound of automobiles on the road near you, the sound of an airplane or a jet plane overhead, the sounds that the house makes when you walk through it. You'll become aware of what you're doing. And as you become more aware, you become more conscious of everything around you, the people around you, how you affect them, how they affect you, how you're involved in this wonderful dance that we all call life. And everything that you do affects other people. It's true. I know we've heard this term that the butterfly flapping its wings in South America affects the weather in North America and the rest of the world. Well, that may or may not be true, but it's absolutely true that everything that you do has an impact on other people. It's like throwing a pebble into a still pond. It creates ripples, and those ripples radiate outward. So your thoughts, your ideas, your words, your actions, they affect all other people. They affect those immediately around you, and they affect other people who are far distant from you. We are connected in so many different ways, in ways that we don't even know. You don't believe me? Well, think about this. Have you had this kind of experience where someone pops into your mind? Excuse me. Maybe you haven't thought about that person for a long time. All of a sudden, something reminds you of that person, and you start thinking about them. And lo and behold, within a day, or even that day, or even that hour, you get a contact from that person. Maybe they send you a text. Maybe they send you a phone call. Maybe someone that you both know contacts you and tells you something about that person. I know you've probably had those experiences yourself. Or maybe someone in your family. You're thinking about your father, your mother, your sister, your brother, your son, or your daughter, your cousin, your aunt, your uncle. You're thinking about them. You have a relationship with them. You talk to them often, but you're thinking about them right then. And all of a sudden, you get a call from them. Well, how about this one? Driving down the highway, and you're talking to someone in the car, and they say, I was thinking about buying one of those new Ford Broncos. And you say, why? I'm not familiar with that Ford Bronco. What's that look like? And they start to describe it to you. And then within a few minutes, he goes, oh, there's one right now. Point to a Ford Bronco going by. And then all of a sudden, for the next few days, you seem to see Ford Broncos everywhere. Why? Because your awareness is heightened, because your consciousness is tuned to it. Are you creating the Broncos? No. You're just aware of the Broncos, and you're aware of those things. And wherever you put your attention, this is how you create in life. So if you want to create that dream, the one that you tucked away, that you haven't dusted off in a while, that could be your perfect expression in life, you need to raise your awareness. Put your attention on it. Wherever you put your attention, it's like having a garden. And if you water the particular plants and you treat them with kindness, maybe you talk to your plants, but you give them nutrients, those plants are going to grow. Why? Because you're putting your attention on them. And the ones that you don't want, like the weeds that are there, You try not to pay attention to them. You certainly don't feed them nutrients. You don't water them, and eventually they will die. Now, some weeds are a little bit more persistent than others, but the point is that wherever you place your attention is where things are going to happen. So if you place your attention on those dreams that you've tucked away, they're going to revive. They're going to come back. And then maybe you can pursue them. Maybe they turn out to be your perfect expression. How will you know? You'll know because it will be easy. It will not take great effort. It's like the law of least effort. Deepak Chopra talks about it in the 7 Spiritual Laws of Success. We've also talked about that in another podcast. The universe operates on the law of least effort. Trees don't try to grow. Grass doesn't try to grow. Birds don't try to fly. Fish don't try to swim. They just do it. That's the law of least effort. And when you're pursuing what you're supposed to with passion and intent, you will know it, you will feel it, it will be easy. Doors will open where there were no doors. People will appear in your life to assist you. Goethe said that once you make a commitment, the universe goes into action. So once you decide that this is what I'm going to do, and you put your attention and your focus and your passion and your intent behind it, it energizes things. And the universe has unlimited organizing power. It can bring things from a furthest distance and bring them right in front of you. It can create opportunities that you never thought were possible. It can bring people into your life that you didn't know, and all of a sudden they appear and they seem to want to help you. You have to be open to it. You have to be open. You have to follow some paths that don't seem to make sense to your head, but they make sense to your heart. They feel right. I remember Lynn Grabhorn, who wrote, "Excuse Me, Your Life is Waiting." I mentioned Lynn in another podcast. It's worthwhile mentioning her here again. So she was driving down the road one day, out in the environs of the Midwestern part of California. She was looking at ranch property, and she was selling ranch property as a real estate salesperson. She wasn't a real estate salesperson, but she was pursuing this anyway. So she's driving her car, which was an older model, and this older model needed to have oil put in every few hundred miles. She needed to take it into the shop and get some kind of repair done. But in the meantime, she carried 2 or 3 cans of oil with her. And whenever the car was low on oil, she would stop, pull over, and put a quart of oil in and fill it back up again. This one particular day, she's driving, and she noticed that the oil light was on, but she didn't have any cans of oil. She forgot to replenish the supply that she had. She's driving down the road, and this is in a desolate part of Midwestern California in the San Joaquin Valley, where there are long stretches of land, big farm owners, and not a lot of civilization. She sees a sign on the side of the road that says gas station. She pulls off the exit, and she goes for 2 or 3 miles. She's looking for this gas station. She finally finds the gas station. She pulls into the gas station. She gets gas while she's there. She goes inside, and she says to the guy in there, I don't suppose that you have this particular kind of motor oil. And she tells him what kind it is, which is not a common brand, not a common formula. And I don't know if you're familiar with motor oil, but there's 10W30s and 10W40s and different kinds. And she has a specific kind for her automobile. And the old guy looks at her and he says, take a look at the rack outside. She walks outside, and there's this little metal rack out there with a few cans in it. She picks up one of the cans, and sure enough, it's the exact brand. It's the exact portion. It's the exact model that she's looking for. She had no idea. She just pulled off, followed her feeling. Something was telling her to get off and go to that gas station, and sure enough, he had the oil. Well, that's kind of how life is. There are times when you go down a road and you think, I really don't know where I'm going. I don't know if this is right, but something is telling me, call it intuition, call it my feelings, call it whatever you like. It's interesting because we think that making decisions in life requires us to have like a mental calculator of pros and cons. We run it through our mind and it doesn't make sense. We usually don't do it, although sometimes we do it anyway and has bad consequences. But really, sometimes your feelings incorporate a lot more information than just your thought process. Malcolm Gladwell wrote this book called Blink. It's one of several of his books that have become bestsellers. And in Blink, Malcolm Gladwell says that oftentimes the decision we make quickly without thinking about it is right more than if we spend a great deal of time weighing all the possibilities. Maybe when you were in school and you were taking tests like Regents exams or finals, and oftentimes I remember teachers telling us, if you don't know the answer, you can do one of two things. You can skip over it and come back later if you have time, or go with what you initially think is the right answer. More often than not, that turned out to be the right answer. Well, this is kind of what Malcolm Gladwell says after his experimentation and a lot of research that he did. He says in Blink, in those first seconds, even milliseconds, you come to a decision, and the decision you're coming to is part of your thought process, but it also involves all of your other senses. Maybe you're reading body language, maybe you're getting some kind of vibrations from the atmosphere around you. Maybe you're incorporating sound and thought and feeling all in the same time. It's an interesting concept. And when you try it out in your own life, you're going to find out that it's true more than it's not. So the idea that you need to make decisions by carefully weighing pros and cons and taking your time. And to be sure, there are times when that is helpful, but there are also times when that initial reaction, that gut reaction, if you will, that feeling in your bones, we have these sayings for a reason. I felt it in my gut. I'm going with my gut. They talk about coaches in the National Football League and in sports teams that, coach from their gut. What is that? It's your feeling. Maybe we talk about feminine intuition. We all have intuition. It's just that we don't follow that intuition. And maybe we're acting the wrong way. Maybe we're on the right path when we know that it feels right. So when you're looking for that life's perfect expression, it has to feel right. It can't just be something you reason out. You can't say, well, I'm going to take this job because there's a promotion in it for me. It's a higher salary, shorter hours, better vacation time, better overall benefits. Yeah, that makes sense. All those things make sense, but it only appeals to one aspect. It appeals to your logic. It appeals to your critical thinking, if you will. But how does it feel? Have you ever taken a job because you thought it was good for those logical reasons, and then you're actually doing it, and then a month in or 2 months in, you're totally miserable because the day-to-day activity doesn't match up with what you feel are your abilities and where your interest lies and where your passion is? Wouldn't it be better to be doing what you truly love, what you truly have passion and intent for, even if you're not making as much money, even if you're not getting the kind of promotions that you think you're going to get in a job that you hate? I know it's difficult because you have those responsibilities and commitments to live up to. However, I think that if you follow your feelings, if you follow your passion, if you follow your intent, if you follow what it is that you really, really are committed to do, you know what? You can't help but be successful at it. Making money, and by the way, I want to change that. Making money is a total misnomer. There's nothing to make. It's all been made. The money has all been made. It's out there. There's oceans of money. There's oceans of money flowing all around you all the time. If you're not getting it, it's just because you're not directing it to you. Why not? Why are you blocking it? Well, you're blocking it because you put your own limitations in. You know, you look at people who are very successful, you have jealousy toward that. You say, why is it them and why isn't it me? You know, and there's only so much to go around. You got all these billionaires around you. It used to be that being a millionaire was a big deal. Today, being a millionaire is nothing. I mean, $1 million in today's economy with the cost of everything is not a big deal at all. You're not wealthy. I mean, I realize for people who don't have millions of dollars, it sounds like a lot, but trust me, if you had $1 million today, if you were given $1 million today and you're not in that tax bracket, you'd raise your lifestyle, and in a short period of time, you'd be worried about money again. So it's not about $1 million. It's not about $1 billion. It's about having a constant flow. It has to flow to you and through you. But the money's all been made. You don't have to make anything. Having money come to you is like a parlor trick. It really is. It's simple, it's easy, and you have to find the switch to make it come through you. And part of that is you have to have the intent. You have to be doing what you're passionate about, what is productive, what is helpful to other people, and you have to think about money and material possessions coming to you, not so that you can live the lifestyle of a rock star, but you're entitled to live comfortably. You should have all the things that you need for yourself, for your own comfort, for your own health and welfare, and that of your loved ones and your family. But you should also use those resources to help other people, to further them, to raise other people up, to give people the guidance that they need, the assistance that they need in their lives, so that they can get up to that consciousness and awareness level, so that they're doing what they're passionate about, what they have intent for, what they have a commitment to, what they have the ability for, so that they can then have those material possessions and that wealth and that flow coming to and through them so that they can pass it on to others. This is how we make a difference in our life. We're all here in this huge stew on this earth, some 7 billion people plus and growing. And we all contribute some spice, some taste, some element to this stew. You can contribute something that's sweet and tasteful or something that's bitter. Which is it going to be? I propose that if you're following your true passion, if you're doing it in a thoughtful way, without envy, without jealousy, with positive thoughts, with positive words, lifting other people up, helping other people achieve their goals, you will achieve yours. And if you're following your passion, your intent, your commitment, and your abilities, and you're doing it in the way that only you can do and no one else can, and you're doing it in service of other people, you will never have to worry about material possessions, about wealth, or anything else. This is Edward Durante. This is Life's Perfect Expression. You can find these podcasts on Apple or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts, and please subscribe. Thank you.